Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to One More Cup of Coffee, Coffee and Culture's Genshin Impact Lore podcast. I'm your host for today, Jside from the Genshin Guys podcast, but you can also call me Josh. So, in this episode of One More Cup of Coffee, we will be joined by fellow Genshin content creator IslandXD. Island, welcome. Can I call you Island? Is that okay?
Hi.
Hi, hi, hi. Now, yes? Okay, everyone's good?
Yeah, I think they can hear me.
Okay, cool. It's good now? Okay, great. Sorry about that. Thank you. Just a quick
Very
technical
low.
technical difficulty, but we are good.
Apparently, I'm very low.
Still low? Okay, here. I turned you up a lot now, so you should be
Hello,
good.
testing. Hello, chat. Hello, I'm here. Hi,
Hello,
how you
everyone.
doing?
Oh, volume good. All right, cool. Okay, so
Let's go.
let's start one more time. So, how are you doing today, Island?
Oh, I'm old. My back hurts. It's because it's raining. My knees hurt. I woke up about an hour ago, so I ate breakfast. I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
It's good to
welcome.
be here.
So I mean, I hope your back is okay.
Yeah,
I don't know where am I
yeah.
supposed to go from this. So yeah, glad for you to be here. Thank you for coming here, waking up, and on a rainy day when you definitely probably wanted to keep sleeping, and
Yeah.
joining us for this podcast with everyone here
Glad
today.
to be here, though. It's fun. I like doing these kind of things.
Yeah, me too. These are, I also woke up half an hour ago, and yeah, that's all you
Let's
need to
go.
know. I
All
was
right, that's it, everybody. That's the end of the
All right, guys. All right, guys.
podcast.
Bye. That was one more cup of coffee. One more cup of coffee, and thank you, everyone. So, okay. So, great. So, thank you for being here. And before we talk about like our main content for today, I wanted to start with like a little bit of getting to know each other. So,
Yeah, for sure.
first, tell us, Island, a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you based? What do you like doing on your off time? Like, who are you, Island?
I am a person that lives in an attic, and I live under a rock, weirdly. But aside from that, if you guys didn't know, I am Korean. A lot of people actually don't know this. Probably because I never actually say it. But yeah, and then I like honestly. For the last 2, 3 years, have like absolutely no hobbies because I've been so busy. But that's a good thing because the reason why I'm busy is because I'm doing something that I really enjoy. And that's, content creation, playing games, all that stuff. But then really lately, I haven't been playing too much games
Mm.
besides when I stream and stuff. But that's fine because when I'm not streaming, I'm working on like videos, just reading stuff for lore. Just, I guess that's become my hobby now.
Nice. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, we gotta stay up to speed as content creators, and this game moves pretty
Yes.
fast. So
Yep. Too
cool.
fast.
A little too fast. And now that
Yeah.
we've got like Honkai Star Rail coming up, and it's gonna be like ah.
Yeah. I'm screwed.
Yeah, same. So I'm right there with you, buddy. Sinking ships.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
well, thanks for sharing. We are today going to talk about mostly Genshin Impact, and then a little bit of Honkai at the end because there is, like I mentioned, Honkai Star Rail coming out very soon, and it is. I would say it's directly related to the Genshin fan base as well. I think a lot of people are going to be trying out the game,
Yes.
and yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about that toward the end of the podcast. Does that sound okay?
Sounds fun. I'm down to talk about whatever. And yeah, throughout all this, if you guys in chat have questions for both of us, like we're down. Just
Yeah, let us know.
wherever it takes us.
Throw it at us, and we'll see what sticks.
Yeah.
Okay. So, to get the
Oh,
conversation started.
just a side note.
Oh,
Your chat box is broken
what are you talking about?
on stream.
Oh, so like it shows up and then it disappears,
Oh,
like
okay. Okay.
instantly. Yeah, me too. I was actually thinking like, oh wait, where'd it go? Like, oh yeah, it's super fast. It goes away really
Got you.
fast. Um, But yeah, so to get the conversation started, how about we start with Genshin? And what about Genshin Impact do you like? Like, what draws you in the most? What keeps you playing it?
Hmm. Uh, where do I want to start with this?
Yeah, it's a
Because
it's a broad one. Yeah.
I I said this before to at least my community that originally I never planned on playing this game,
Mm.
and that's just partially because I never really liked story inside of video games because I don't know, I used to be the type of person that played like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Valor, like competitive games, right?
Mm-hmm.
StarCraft. So I was never into like story unless it was those RPG games on like a console maybe here and there.
Right.
And then I never cared to play Genshin until it was released, and then my fiance and my friends, like IRL friends, they were like asking me if I'm gonna play it because they know that I like anime and stuff. And I said no, but then I gave it a shot, and it's kind of funny story. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
maybe I shouldn't even mention this. You guys know that a gacha game people have the tendency to reroll accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a common thing. I know it's maybe shunned upon sometimes, but
Not by
people
meta
reroll.
slaves.
Yeah, people remake accounts to get the best role that they can for starting characters and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did for the first 2 weeks of the game's
Oh
launch,
my. Yeah, I get that.
and then I started playing after finally settling down on an account, and then I went into lore just out of sheer accident because they keep throwing lore at your face when you play, like
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you go. So I got interested, and then I think it was around like a week time span. I dug up everything because I was just so curious. And then I thought, oh, this game actually has a really good story, even though I never really cared for stories before. But this that hooked me in, and ever since then, I that's all really what I've been focusing on.
Nice.
So all in all, for Genshin, the story actually unknowingly just kind of wrapped me in the game in the community, and here I am.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that speaks really, really highly of like just Genshin's ability to world build. Like I think like that's great. Like you're like someone who just like I don't even care about story, and now you make
Yeah,
lore videos. Like that is
it was
insane.
pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. And to be frank,
Hmm.
I think the only reason why I kept going was because out of just sheer boredom and trying to see if I can continue being like a content creator. Because before playing Genshin, I used to stream on Twitch a lot until I
Hmm.
quit. And then I thought, why not? I enjoyed the story. I tried making a couple of videos. And then people really enjoyed what I had to say, which was cool. And it kind of motivated me to keep doing it. And then after a while, I basically became a Hoyoverse slave. Yeah,
That's great. Wait, so
that was yeah.
you have some experience with like Honkai Impact Third, right?
Now I do, yes.
So you started with Genshin, like that was your first like Hoyoverse game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. All right,
I
so
think
mm,
I after like a year and a half, maybe a year of playing Genshin, I didn't even know Honkai Impact Third existed because I just never paid attention to any gacha games before in my life.
right.
And then because it was the same company, people kept mentioning it,
Mm-hmm.
and I pushed it off for like months, like because I was kind of scared to play another game that was like so heavily related to story.
Mm-hmm.
And then people kept asking me, and then I gave it a shot, and it was like a complete different experience, but
Mm-hmm.
for the same reason, lore. So I got hooked in that like after about a year, and then I've been playing ever since.
Yeah, the lore is kind of nuts, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about Honkai like toward the end, but yeah, that's great to know. Like I also I similar story, I guess, but like I started Honkai when it first came out, and I was showing a bunch of people, wow, like look at the graphics of this game. This is a phone game. Can you believe it?
Oh
Like it's
right,
so
right, yeah.
amazing. And then I played it for like a month, and I like had we had like a an armada and everything, and we were like I was playing with
Right.
friends, and then I just stopped. Like my friends stopped playing, I stopped playing. I didn't even think about it anymore. I was like, wow, that game was great. I think about it every
Mm.
once in a while. Then Genshin came out, and then after about a year of playing Genshin, I was like, huh, Honkai. And
Maybe
then
maybe go back. Yeah.
yeah. So I've been like dabbling with it a little bit, also just to prepare myself to like get used to some of the characters for like Star Rail and stuff. And
Mm.
um, yeah, like I said, I want to focus on this conversation, but I really, really like talking about Honkai and Honkai lore and how it may or may not be
Yeah, we
related
can
or
talk about it a
referenced.
little later. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited for that. But yeah. So you started making lore videos. You really like the lore. You have a favorite aspect of the lore, like one that is like
Ah.
always really interesting to you, that every time you see something new about it, you're like, oh, I really, 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 really want to know what happens next.
uh, wait, how long is this podcast supposed to
Two
be?
hours.
Okay.
You have time, I promise.
All right, this is good. Okay. My see, there are a couple things, and this is not something that a lot of people think about that resonates with me personally. And first of all, the way the story is presented in the game, it's not normal that it's presented this way usually in different games. Like a lot of story related games, they kind of take you along like linear fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Genshin has that too through like the Archon quest and the story quest and that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the story, if you really want to get into it, it's all I wouldn't say hidden, but it's like behind certain things like items and those,
Mm-hmm.
artifacts, weapons. Um and if you really dig in deep down the rabbit hole, you start understanding like the overall picture that is kind of like being formulated aside from the main story chapters or archon chapters, those kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a gigantic spider web. You know that meme where there's like a guy on the board and there's like I forgot who it was. There's a picture of like a whiteboard and everything is connected and the guy's freaking out.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's like literally that, except unseen. And if you really want to figure everything out, then you have to connect everything through so many various items and books and all that kind of things.
Yeah.
Um, so I found that fascinating because it seemed all interconnected and like almost secret.
Mm.
And that was pretty much, and the reason why I resonated with that so well was because I used to be the type of like person when I'm like in school or when I'm talking to a teacher. It's kind of like I must have been like the worst student in a way because every time a teacher says something, I always question them. As in, why is certain thing this way? Like, can you explain
Oh no,
why?
that's the best student, dude. That,
Yeah, until the teacher starts getting irritated.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and I used to argue with teachers with a lot of different things. Like, yeah, this is what the instruction says. Because I used to go to school for like fixing, airplane like mechanic kind of
Like
things.
aviation.
Yeah, aviation. And a lot of their focus is on attention to detail and
Mm.
making sure you read everything like one word at a time to get a full understanding of how certain things work.
Right.
And a lot of the teachers, they sometimes just explain to you what you need to do, but I was the guy who was like, yeah, but why do I have to do certain things this way? Like, can you explain to me?
Mm.
And then I read them more deeper and I argue with the teachers like, yeah, I don't think that's connected in that way. I don't know if that's true. And they're like, just do it, just do the work, right?
Right.
And so going back to Genshin with that idea, it feels similar because a lot of the story you have to really like read something, think about it, and trying to understand how they're connected,
Mm.
right? So that's what resonated with me a lot in that like detailed way. And a lot of people that see my videos or see me talk about the story,
Mm-hmm.
they think I'm crazy, actually.
Perfect.
Like straight high on copium all the time. And I think that's just because of my personality is that way. Like I overthink everything, overanalyze everything just to see if there's a possibility that something is connected, and if it is, why? Like that kind of thing.
Wow, lucky that you found an entire niche of content creation just for you, because that's
Yeah,
exactly what
I know.
lower streamers and lower content creators are, right? They just overanalyze everything and see like
Yeah.
what could be possible off of what information we have, which is super cool.
Yeah, and besides that, the overall story of the game is very intriguing to me.
Mm.
It like not the direct callouts like, sometimes you read artifacts and some artifacts directly, maybe not directly with names, but they are hinting, implying it's related to certain characters and things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but going away from that, direct callouts or details in that fashion, if you think about the overall message being told, they are just very fascinating to me.
Is
Like
there
for the game.
is there one thing, like one story in the game that right now you are like the most waiting for the next step? Like you are like, oh, I really, really want to know about this in the lore.
Like for like the overall picture or like a
Like a
detailed
specific thing,
like
like a specific story.
I see. Um Probably honestly right now at the moment Fontaine and why the Hexen Circle was teased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, right now that's the two biggest things.
I guess it kind of feels like before we went to Sumeru, they teased the harbingers, like all of them, and then
Yeah, 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 yeah.
they gave us a lot of Dottore, and then of course Scaramouche was there, but now they're teasing Hexen Circle, and it's like like I wonder how that's gonna come into play in fun.
It's kind of sus.
It's very sus.
Yeah.
Yes, which we will talk about because that is our first topic. Which we're going to be talking about Windbloom, Alice, and the Hexen Circle. Before we get to that point, one more question for you: What is your who is your favorite playable character and why?
Crap.
It's
um
a tough one, I'm sure.
I can't pick one.
Pick
And
one.
uh,
Making you think here.
oh my goodness, that's so hard because I there's three, but
Okay.
they're all for different reasons.
Okay, what are those three?
Okay, number one is Amber,
Okay, why?
and the reason is just because I am very low key like introverted character,
Mm-hmm.
so Amber is kind of the opposite,
Mm.
and that's why ever since we started the game, she kind of like guides us. But then aside from that, she's just like a happy person all the time. And that's something that I cannot do, but also appreciate a lot as a character. Like
Huh.
obviously, I'm going really deep here because these are fictional characters, but
Yeah.
like
But that's why we're here.
even in real life, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
true, obviously, even in real life, I like hanging out with people that can actually guide me in a happy place.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's
So
good.
Amber's one of them.
Okay.
Second one's Joy, but these are no particular order, by the way.
Okay. So another
Um,
Pyrobo user got it.
Yeah, but the reason why Yoimiya is because it's basically Amber. I just like that kind of a character. You know what I mean?
I get that. Yoimiya is actually my favorite, so that makes sense.
Yeah, she's happy. She's happy all the
Yeah.
time. And then the third one is Nahida, but that's obviously just because of Honkai Impact Third.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I want to talk about that later because
Yeah.
I don't know how Nahida is related to Honkai. I did not get that
Okay.
far.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, thanks for sharing. I mean, obviously, difficult decision. There's so many characters, and not all of them have been quite fleshed out yet in terms of story. Even Amber, like we have not gotten much of Amber's
Yeah.
story, but obviously she's been in a lot of events, very popular, personality wise, like she's up there. And obviously Hoyoverse loves her, which is cool. And then Yoimiya, my personal favorite, because of kind of everything you said, like she's happy and
She's
it's
almost like it's too happy to almost a fault, which
well,
is
yeah.
crazy.
I,
Like,
I love that she kind of is like so fixed on fireworks, and I love that
uh,
like that cutscene where when you do like her story as part of like the Archon quest that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like looking at the fireworks, and Paimon's trying to talk to her, and like she's just not listening, and she's like so focused on the fireworks. And then the traveler's like, "Shut up, Paimon!" Like
Yeah,
she's
that's
having a
pretty funny.
moment, you know.
That's cute.
I love that. So, yeah, Yoimiya has been my main for a while, and then yeah, like Nahida, I'm really curious later to hear about that because I mean Nahida obviously a lot of people can really enjoy her story, which is pretty fleshed out compared to
Yeah.
other stories. Obviously, she's an Archon and she's gone through a lot of stuff, and we got to kind of experience that. Even that trailer, man, the birthday
Yeah, the
trailer.
sad one. Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah, that's
I got I got so emotional.
yeah.
I kind of couldn't like finish watching it. I did, but it was rough.
I mean, honestly, like I think the thing that did it for me was that it was the same voice line over and over again, but sadder and sadder
Yeah.
each time.
Life
So
getting sucked out of the voice.
yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, that so yeah, those are three really cool. Like those are three really good picks. I think. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna bash on anyone if they picked any character, but thanks
It's
for
alright. You
sharing
can
the
make fun
reasoning.
of Amber.
Wait, no, 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 no. If anyone, I'm gonna make fun of Dory as my like least favorite character.
Dory. I think Dory's cool,
I
but
know a
that's
lot of people
because
do.
she's a scammer.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't think it's a cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be in a conversation with this character ever because I will lose money 100%. But yeah, she's great, and I'm sure we'll find out more about her when we find out more about Kave, which is cool. Um, so thanks for your intro. Thanks for letting us know all that stuff. Now let's kind of start talking about our topics today. Of course, it's very
Wait, that
casual.
was the intro?
That was the intro. We haven't even started. I haven't even mentioned the topics yet. So
It was a long intro, dude.
yeah, well, we're chill, right? We have 2 hours,
Yeah, okay.
and we're gonna have
True,
a
true.
5 minute break in about half an hour. But then after that, we have another hour. The last half an hour will be Honkai. But I mean, we just right now don't have too much new information since Windbloom and Care Bear, which has been out for a couple weeks now.
Care Bear?
Care
Yes,
Bear,
Care
yes, Care Bear, and or the Caribbear.
Bear.
So so I want to talk about that, get your thoughts on that, because I know a lot of content creators have reacted to the crystal, the to the hexen circle, and I just kind of want to hear your thoughts and share with everybody your thoughts on these
Mm.
things. And I know you've made a video about the chasm and the voice and Dane's left and talking about that quest specifically, but I would love to hear some of your thoughts on that on here on this podcast. So
Okay.
cool. So first, we're gonna talk about Windbloom, Alex, and Hexen Circle. Then we're gonna talk about Caribea, and then we're gonna talk about Baiju and Kave. And I want to hear your kind of like hopes and expectations when it comes to everything we know about them so far.
Mm.
Um, and then we'll talk about Honkai at the end. Sounds good?
Yes. Yeah, I'm down.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
just trying to think.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think
Overall.
Mm.
All right. Yeah.
you're just
Let's
trying to
go. We
think.
can start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's think. Let's do this. So first, let's talk about Windbloom, Alice, and Hexen Circle. So coming out of the Windbloom event, what was like your like biggest impression? Like, what was the thought that you were left with the most after that whole quest?
Well, there was a very clear thing that stood out among everything, not even lore,
What's
right?
that?
And everybody could probably agree. It's that relationship between Sukrose and Kale that started manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a good friends, I would assume, but that was crazy to see because, well, not surprising, but very heartwarming, if anything.
Mm.
Um,
Super wholesome.
cause yeah, I was kind of dying playing the story. I was like, oh my god, I can't breathe. There's too much wholesomeness going on everywhere.
Suffocated by wholesomeness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it
great.
was great. It was so like. Didn't you say you wait? So you said you tend to be friends with people who are like really extroverted, right?
Yeah,
But are
that's
you
why
introverted?
I am super introverted. So
Ah.
as soon as I started the quest, I did it on stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty clear because I'm introverted. I asked a lot of my audience is also introverted. So
Mm-hmm.
immediately when I was playing through the Windbloom, the Kale and also Sucrose are very introverted people,
Mhm.
and it resonated immediately. I think with a lot of people, and like I wouldn't say all, obviously, but a lot of good percentage of the gamers are introverted.
Mhm.
So I think that's why one of the biggest reason that people enjoyed it so much was because it's like you can see the growth happening right in front of your eyes with two
Yeah.
characters that have very self conscious what's the word?
Like
The
self-confidence issues?
yeah. And I struggle with that a lot too
Mm.
when I was younger. It's getting better because I'm getting older, but
Mm.
when you're younger, when you're introverted, your self confidence takes a hit quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that was showcased a lot, not because of like the Windbloom was kind of trying to get the introverted, self conscious person to be more happy, which it
Mm.
was great. But just knowing the backstory of Sucrose and Kale from like the character story and manga, it was very cool. Like seeing the growth happen right in front of your eyes.
Yeah. I mean, like I I think that it's really great that they added in that bit about them having a like a silent moment together where they were just like, we don't have to say
Yeah.
anything. Like that was really big for me. Like I was like, "Oh, like so I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not an introvert, right? But um I have a lot of friends that of course are, and like, hearing about when people try to force introverts to do things like to fit into an extrovert world,
Hmm.
um it really hurts to hear that. Like I feel for them because like even though I don't have that issue, it's just so common. Um like we should go out, you should do this, you should do this. It's like, well, maybe I'm not the kind of person that does that. And getting to like see them say like, hey, it's okay, like let's just be ourselves and
Yeah.
just hang out here, like that was really nice. So
Yeah.
and yeah.
One of the biggest thing about introverts, like from my personal experience, is when you're in like a group gathering, we choose to just stay quiet,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes we feel like it's almost like a half and half, where like maybe we should participate in the conversation a little more, and then we get self-conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was showcased in like Sucrose and Kale, for example, right?
Right.
And then sometimes we do feel like, no, I'm just gonna stay in the corner of the room, stay quiet, and just chill. It doesn't really make me sad. It's just what I want.
Mm-hmm.
We do think that way as well sometimes, right?
Right.
And that was both being shown through the quest,
Mm.
where in the beginning, Kale and Sucrose were obviously having like a self monologue
Mm-hmm.
of like conflict, but then later when they got to know each other a little bit more in the I forget exactly where they were sitting by the hillside and they're just being quiet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were both acceptant to the fact that yeah, it's okay to be quiet. Like it was amazing. It was
Yeah, that
both
was
cases being showcased.
it was amazing. Like it was I was not expecting it, honestly.
Same.
Yeah, but it was great. And like Sucrose is like kind of weird, right? And
Yep.
like she's always been that way. Like she's like so into science that she'll bother other people without realizing it.
Very geeky.
Yeah, super geeky, like, follows Diana to her job so she can find out where her cat ears came
Yeah.
from, kind of, creepy. um or like geeky. And so it's really funny cuz Sucrose is like super wholesome and very understanding during this whole quest, and you're like, "Oh, like, we get to know so much about Sucrose, but like wasn't she like really weird?" And then all of a sudden it's just like, "Oh, can I collect your breath of happiness in this chest?"
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Everybody was
there she
like,
is.
okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, there's Sucrose. Like there she is, the science part. But yeah, speaking of that, so what do you think about that? She got the breath of a happy dead god infused Kale, and it's glowing purple, and it looks really dangerous.
Yeah, that last bit,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, it was very sus. But
Right.
the story didn't really expand on that at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was similar to what happened in Dragon Spine with Albedo.
Mm.
With the Traveler, there was like a residue that was left and it was never
Oh, right, right.
explored upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like kind of in both cases, they don't really expand on it and it just makes you like sus. It's like, okay, what's going on? What is that really? But they never explain it.
Mm.
And then they probably won't ever explain it until like way later in the story. So like when I saw the thing happening with the with Windbloom at the end,
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, that's probably one of those things. There's no reason for me to dive so deep into it because no matter how much I dive into it, I won't get an answer, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's even like also important to remember that this quest is technically a limited event quest. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
yeah, which is crazy because it is a very important quest. It feels like
Mm-hmm.
you learn so much information and a lot of characters meet, and chances are you see any of these characters in the future and they're gonna refer to this event like 100%. So yeah, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, it was really nice event overall. So you mentioned Kale
Yes.
and Sucrose, but now I want to talk about the Alice and Hexencircle side. So, like, what are your thoughts on the information that we
Mm.
learned from that part of the event?
I well, there's a couple things
Hmm.
I didn't realize until after the reveal of that cutscene and
Mm-hmm.
the Hexen Circle that people were not aware that Reindor was part of the Hexen Circle.
Oh,
We never got a confirmation
right.
before, and it wasn't a fact. So that's probably why people didn't really think about it too
Mm-hmm.
much. But for some reason, in my mind, it was very clear that Reindor was part of the Hexen Circle.
Right.
And even my playthrough of it, people were asking me, "Does that not surprise you?" And I wasn't trying to be mean, but I'm like, "Wait, what? What doesn't surprise me?
Mm-hmm.
That Ryan Daughter is a Hexen Circle?" And everyone's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that is surprising. I just thought it was the case the whole time, so I just didn't bother to think about it." But I mean, at least we got a confirmation now for sure that
Right.
Ryan Daughter was part of the Hexen Circle, and the whole idea about the witches. I always felt something was weird, because they Alice existed since the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We got introduced to Alice very early, right?
Right.
And it was very clear that she was part of the Hexen Circle, with Mona's master,
Mm-hmm.
Babeloth. And if that means, like logically speaking, that they were planning on the Hexen Circle since the game released, right?
Right.
You can kind of think about it that way. And thinking in that regard, it got me wondering, that means everything about the Hexen Circle that they've been planning since the very beginning, there's a meaning to it through the
Mm.
entire story. Otherwise, they wouldn't put it in there. Like, they would not put so much effort and time to craft this story about the witches if there was nothing big behind them.
Oh yeah.
And considering all the witch that we know of now, they're kind of in big points in the story so far. Like even the voice that we heard in Sumeru, now that's pretty explained, right?
Right.
To be
Nicole.
to be Nicole, yeah. So it's very cool because now I'm starting to see the bigger picture. Like, oh, these witches actually have a big meaning to the story. We just haven't figured it out what it was yet. But
Mm-hmm.
I always was fascinated by Alice because even though she's like quirky, um, and she's almost like a eccentric enigma kind of character,
Yeah.
um, she was always sus to me, as in like, why does this character exist, and what is the implication behind what they're doing right now, right?
Yeah. Especially with like
And
the Dodoko stuff. Like
yeah,
it's since
that
then.
was
Yeah.
yeah. So like I have this big fascination about Alice. I think
Mm.
I made like one or two videos about them specifically, which was an issue because there was not much information about her.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad that the Hexen circles are finally getting teased more deeply in detail,
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe they are the centerpiece of the actual entire story.
Mm.
That's in between the Archons of Fatui and the Abyss.
right? And then Celestia, right?
Yeah, Celestia and Archons, yeah, in that category, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so just one of the other great powers that controls the quote unquote fate of the universe. I think
Yeah,
they were pretty
have, have you
powerful.
have you thought about it as a this is what I was thinking about last week
Mm.
in regards to Hexen Circle. Have you noticed that they're very neutral?
Oh yeah, I mean, so they're neutral right now, but remember they said they challenged Venti once?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just talked about this like a few days ago, and I
Mm.
found it really cool because this might not be true. This is purely on speculation, but in my headcanon, if I think about it in a timeline of sense, when the Hexen Circles challenged Venti, there's a possibility that it was during the Cataclysm.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's purely on speculation, but I just thought about it. If that's true, then why are they neutral now? These Hexen Circles, right?
Mm.
And it might just be the same reason why. I mean, it all goes to Venti. He's super sus.
Right. Super sus.
But I do think overall, I think the witches were not happy
Mm.
after they found out something during the Cataclysm. This is all purely speculation again, but
Right.
and then something happened where it caused them to like relax a little bit, and the only answer was just like, in my head canon, like Venti probably told them about the Traveler and what they mean.
Mm.
And now, if you notice, all the witches, in one way, shape, or another, they're all like intertwined with the journey of the Traveler
Yeah.
in a very neutral way.
Right. They're like guiding him along or guiding the traveler along their path kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Um
super cool.
especially with like Nicole, right? That whole like she only shows up in your head when a
Yeah.
change in the world has occurred or something. So,
So that was pretty cool because even Alice also technically she goes to these regions before the Traveler to almost like pave the way in some way.
mm,
Like from the travel guides, she talks about a lot of different things. Like the funniest thing that I do know, it's Alice is the one that who like destroyed the Storm Terror's lair,
mhm,
and that was before the Traveler's journey.
mhm.
And she might be like, it might have been maybe a copium foresight from Alice, but like she's the one who created the path for the Traveler to like go into Dragon Spine's or not Dragon Spine, the Storm Terror's lair
Right.
because it was broken.
Mm.
It's kind of very interesting, and Alice is similar in that regard. Ryan Doter is also connected to Albedo, which is connected to the Traveler, which is very interesting. Mona is connected to the Hexen Circle as well with Mona's master, but Mona has a very interesting intertwined story with the Traveler as
Mhm.
well. And then we got Nicole. Yeah, it's every witch there's a link to something that is happening to the Traveler, and that was so cool because now the Hexen Circle is revealed, and we'll see what happens from here, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I think it's really interesting. Mona is just like she has a lot of like comedy aspects to her like story in game, but she's actually really powerful.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of insane. Like seeing through Scaramouche and like Unreconciled Stars, like being able to literally divine fates. She can tell when people are when someone's watching, when there's magic
Mm-hmm.
afoot, like super interesting character in general. And I think will be a big part of the story at some point. And then there is who's the other person you said? Um wait.
Right, daughter? Albedo?
Albedo, not Albedo. Well,
Nicole?
Albedo is also important, of course, and he's one of my favorite stories from his like two limited events where we find out
Mm-hmm.
about um the dragon. What's the dragon's name? The dragon and
Darren?
Durin.
Devalen?
No, well, Durin, right, is the one
Yeah.
that, yeah, that the dragon that died, and then the other albedo. Was it the primordial albedo or was he the primordial albedo?
Suspedo.
Huh? Suspedo. Suspedo.
Yeah,
Yes, Suspedo.
Suspedo.
So the Suspedo. So Suspedo. I'm super interested to see where that goes in the future. But oh man, what was I gonna say? There was you mentioned something and it made me think that it was really like yeah, what about that? That's important. But then I forgot I lost it. Okay, I'll come back
It's
to
fine because every time I talk about lore, I'm all over the place. I confuse people with my own confusion.
well, there is a lot to be confused about. So but also Venti, right? Like Venti the whole Venti wakes up when there is a threat to Mondstadt or to Teyvat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that is directly involved with like why your theory makes sense about the witches. Because he had to be
Yeah,
awake, right?
we just talked about this like yesterday. It was
Really?
so it's so sus. Like
Yeah.
I have no evidence to back this up, but you're right. Venti always seems to be sleeping until the very last moment when he's forced to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this thought of like, okay, Venti's probably one of those people who just hates conflict and they don't do anything about anything, even though they know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything until the very last moment when things are already going south, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of like talked about this yesterday, and it was like, yeah, that's probably the reason why everybody hates Venti.
Mm.
Like inside the world, not like player
Yeah,
base, but
in
inside the world
Teyvat,
itself.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He knows so much, but he doesn't tell anything. And by the time he acts, the world's already getting like partly destroyed.
That's so interesting. Like where were you all this time kind of thing.
Yeah, and I felt like that was why Saritsa like hates Venti so much.
Oh, that could be a thing. And I also think like because like okay, if we're thinking about the Hexen Circle, right? Like they if they really challenge Venti, I was curious about from your conversation, I thought this.
Mm-hmm.
Did they challenge Venti, causing Venti to wake up? Like did they challenge Teyvat? Or was Teyvat already being challenged through like something like the Cataclysm and Venti was already awake? And so they saw this opportunity to challenge Venti.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about too. And then in my head, at least in my logic,
Mm-hmm.
it made sense that if the timeline of that was to be uh right, it might have just been during the cataclysm, almost like the at the end of the cataclysm, if not like when it was done and over with. And then the Hexen circles were like, dude, Venti, what the heck? Like this is screwed. Um and then that's probably when they might have challenged. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then we got like this timeline issue of okay, Ryan Daughter is part of the Hexen Circle. Daughter was also part of the Cataclysm. So was
Right.
she a witch at that time, or was it? Did it happen before or after? Like we don't know, right?
True. Ah, yeah. And plus, there's still two wishes we don't know about, right? Like according to the
Yeah.
that little image they gave us. Um, but yeah, wow, so much. Like obviously, these like I think Windbloom and the Carrie Bear quests gave us more questions than answers. So,
Yeah.
um, so much to speculate on for sure. But, some things we got to know, like we learned a little bit, tiny bit from the side conversations about Sino's past, or like that he was studying with Lisa under the same
Right.
Darshan in the
Yeah.
Academia, and yeah, and that I don't know, Kale has been to multiple Mondstadt multiple times.
Yeah. That was cute. Like
Yeah,
both instances were kind of a callback to the manga, but also expands on it just a little bit more.
right. Yeah, the manga. I'm I'm really curious. I think it'd be really cool if they like made the manga like a 30-minute animation or like an hour long animation or something. Because
Yeah. Before we go down that route, we still have to figure out what this current animation they're working on is about.
dude, I'm so hyped. Like I love Ufotable, like the studio, like the work that
Yeah.
they put out, and I could not be happier that they're the ones doing this. So I'm really excited. We still don't know like if it's gonna be canon, if it's.
I
So
mean, what's even the story about, right? That's
right,
like, I have no idea.
like I wonder. It could literally just be like the first two arcs of the game, like 1.0. I think they could fit that
Oh,
into
like
13
that.
episodes
Okay,
if they
in
want to
that
do it that
way.
way, you know.
Yeah.
But it could
Hmm.
literally just be like the story quests of the characters, and they could just be like, this is the Eula episode, this is the Alice, not Alice, this is the I don't know, Yoimiya episode. Like they could do it like that. But I
Oh,
think
almost like a slice of life.
I mean like I can only say that because I played the game, but I'm assuming they're gonna want people to play the game from watching the anime, so it'll probably start from like a really
Ah,
zero, like from nowhere point. Like you don't need to know anything about the game.
that's actually pretty logical. Hmm.
Yeah, because I don't think this anime is necessarily for people that already play Genshin. Um, like it's another medium, a new medium that Genshin is going to. So people that don't play games but
Yeah.
watch anime, maybe they'll get into the game from the anime. But of course, they're gonna fan service and they want Genshin players to enjoy it. So we'll see,
Yeah, it's
right?
kind of tricky. Hmm.
hmm
Anime about Archon War, please.
Oh my, yes. So
That's
I don't.
I.
Would they lock it behind? Would they lock that part of the story behind something like a different? I mean, they did it with the manga. The manga is referenced in the game many times, but is not in the game. So, but it's not necessarily necessary to know for the game. Like,
Right.
you don't need to know it to follow the traveler's story.
I
But
mean, Archon War anime, that would be sick.
that
Just by itself,
I
that would
feel
be
like
sick.
we would learn too much. It would be too important. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be like,
Unless they only go over things that we already know.
Right, but do we know that much to be able to make like a
Nah.
full-fledged Archon War? I
Nah.
think there's so many questions still.
Yeah,
Like,
because there's got to be like a start and a finish in the anime, right?
right, exactly. So,
Mm.
like, I would love that. We would love it as like lore lore readers and players of Genshin, but I think
Yeah.
it'd be hard to sell for other people. Plus, it would mean that people who play the game have to watch the anime to understand what
Yeah.
happened, and I don't know if they would take that route specifically. But we can
That's
dream.
true.
We can dream. Plus, oh my gosh, this is like a total side note, but have you seen some of these like the Hoyo Fair animations?
The fan animation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I they do it like once a year, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
like
They
a
just
couple
had
times a
one
year.
recently. Um, I think. And did you see the one about Deshret? Like
I
the
think so.
like he looks kind of like Sino, and he has like Sino's Staff of Scarlet Sands, and then there's like the Greater Lord Rukkhadevada and all this stuff. I think it's Deshret.
I
Um,
think so.
okay, well, I will post that somewhere. But it was phenomenal. Like it was super good. I think
I
yeah,
mean, they're
Miota. It's
usually
by
really
Miota.
good.
Yeah, yeah. It's called like
Yeah,
it's Sand
I think
something.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I feel like you've seen it because basically, and I love this because this is hmm. I mean I love this, but like at the same time I don't know what Hoyoverse thinks of it. Basically, someone took all the information we know about that story and then made like a 3 minute
Yeah.
fan animation of it, and it looks really good. Like it looks almost official.
Yeah, I
And
think I've seen it just because I think it was a very emotional piece.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
So you've
I
probably
remember
seen it.
that, I think.
Like so someone made an animation of that. Someone also made another. I mean, there's a bunch of these, but someone made a recent one
Mm-hmm.
about Raiden and her little group of friends.
Mm.
A and Makoto.
Yeah, they're usually freaking amazing.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's like,
if
it's so cool. Like,
there's like a whole studio behind some of them, which is great.
yeah, I mean,
Like a
it's crazy.
fan-made studio, which is insane. Well, they're like technically content creators that got together as under umbrella of a studio, and
Right.
then they make something phenomenal, but it's still fan-made, which is insane to me.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like so much, and maybe they got like crowdfunded or something because it's
Yeah,
really a lot of
maybe.
stuff. But the fact that like seeing those is really cool because those are what that's the closest thing we're gonna get to an anime of that. So like for example,
Right,
when
right,
we
right.
find out everything about the Archon War, maybe we find out everything, but they don't give us Hoyoverse doesn't give us any cutscenes. They just talk about it. Then some fan studio will just swoop in and make an Archon War, a lore
Yeah.
accurate Archon War, animation. And I think that is something that keeps the community like really interested in the lore, and it's like a really cool thing because we can celebrate together. It's not like official Hoyoverse something something.
Yeah.
But it would be nice, if we got some official animation stuff, and this anime is the first step.
Yeah, we'll see how good it is.
I know, right?
I know it's gonna be good, but I'm sitting here like, all right, you guys are taking a very long time. Let's see what happens.
I just I'm so like I'm glad they're taking a while because I hope that means it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope that we don't have like as a lore enthusiast that our expectations are tame.
Mhm.
Because as you said, now I think about it, I think you're right. It's like they're not gonna go so heavy into making it inaccessible to people for like a small group of people, if that makes sense.
Right, exactly. Um the reason that people like you and me exist as content creators is because there's so much lore, and we got to share it. And if Hoyoverse starts making like really specific lore based videos, I think that those videos will only be really for us. Like
Yeah.
because everyone will watch it with no context and be like, I don't understand. But
Yeah, if I was being selfish, that's what I want, right?
hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's what's up. Like I would love that, of course. I think we would love that.
And then it gives me more content, then I can talk about it.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
People
Yeah.
will be like, "Can you explain it to me?" I'm like, "Yes, I'll try my best." Okay, let's go do
Right.
it. And then, but then a lot of casual people is there like, "Yeah, this is I don't know what's going on." Screw this.
Yeah. I mean, like the truth is that like most of the people that play this game don't interact with content creators like us outside of this, like to go more deep
Yeah,
into the
true.
lore. Like there's
There's a
so many
lot of
people.
like, yeah, so many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see where it goes. I mean, we're excited for it either way, obviously, because we love the game and the story, and we want to see more people enjoy it. So here we are, right? Okay. So any last thoughts you want to like drop us with from Windbloom, from Alex, Hexen Circle before we head to our break?
Um. Mm, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, of course.
How many witches do you think there are? 7 or 8?
Is this about the chairs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about the chairs.
Like, so this is the thing, right?
The only reason what I'm asking is because people ask me this every single day.
Exactly. Okay. Okay. So here's my answer. My answer to this question is another question.
Okay,
Are we overthinking it? Is
that's
that
fair.
is that 7 chairs just representing the fact that Jay left the Hexen Circle and never came back? Like, is it that easy of an answer? It's like the whole
and
story.
then you think there are 8, and
I
then
think there
the
was
chair
8.
is missing.
There
I
was
see, I
it,
see.
and then they basically like this thing with the prophecy. Jay's successor has never been acknowledged. They basically considered for centuries that Jay wasn't part of the Hexen Circle.
Right.
So maybe they just took away her chair because they didn't add someone in her place. So is it that is it that simple because the whole story was about that, or is it like Senora used to be part of the Hexen Circle and she died, so they took away her chair, or is it like did they kick someone out, like
Yo, yesterday I was talking about this
uh-huh
because today's no, was it yesterday? No, it was the
recently.
day before.
Yep.
Basically, every Thursday, like we have this conversation with like my community about lore,
Okay.
and we went pretty deep into this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a copium thought with possible, very speculative evidence
Okay.
that if there were 8, then the 8th witch is actually Skirk.
Oh. What?
It has. Look. I know what people are thinking, and I know I have no evidence to back this up.
I heard this theory though. I heard something about this.
Yes,
Yes.
it exists. So
Yeah.
we did like a deep dive on how could that be possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And surprisingly, there were a couple reasons why I feel like that is actually a very good possibility, but it's still copium because none of this is factual.
Right. Right.
But I thought that was hilarious. And sometimes, 100% of the time, I'm right 50% of the time.
Uh. Uh huh.
Sometimes my gut feelings are right. But we'll see. This is pure copium.
I mean, like literally the only thing we know about Skirk is what Child says, right?
Exactly.
Like we have no reference other than like she's really powerful and she's a swordsman or
Oh,
something.
one thing that was very interesting was there was no affiliation between Skirk and the Abyss Order, right?
Right.
Um, then in a hypothetical world, if that's true, then it gets you very curious because Skirk also knows likely about the forbidden knowledge or the power of beyond
Mhm.
because she knows about the abyss
Mhm.
as in like the dark power, the dark realm,
Mhm.
but is not affiliated with the abyss.
Right.
Just like how Rhindaughter was. So it gets me curious, and then we don't know how long Skirk was alive for either.
Mhm.
But I don't know. We'll see. That's copium.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? That's what we're here for the copium. So,
Yes.
yeah, I mean Skirk is cool. Obviously, I love Foul Legacy transformation. So, anybody that can like do that or teach child how to do that must be very powerful. And whether it's related to the same level of
Yeah.
power of the
Yeah.
witches,
Hold on. Before the break, though, let me
Okay.
with that thought,
Okay.
what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this earlier in the podcast. Every witch has somebody that's below them that connects them to you,
Oh my
the
gosh, you're right.
traveler, and there's child, undoubtedly very interconnected with the traveler.
Bro, the
So,
copium. The
so
copium is real. Oh
but
no.
anyways, yeah. That's I guess that's as far as I got with my community Thursday. But yeah,
I mean, there's only so far you can get, but I mean, hey, that's like a very interesting point.
it's
Wow.
funny. It's yeah, it's fun.
Wait, so would you consider the person under Alice that's connected to Traveler as Klee?
I think Alice is just Alice. How
Okay.
Nicole is Nicole,
Oh,
but
right,
there are
right.
some witches that has like that extension of a character.
Well, we still have 3 other continents to go to or whatever, so
Yep.
there's and then Celestia and then the Abyss. We'll probably go to the Abyss. Like if I think about Honkai, we'll probably just go into the Abyss at some point.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, and so so we will talk about more about that and Honkai when we get back. We're also going to talk a little bit about Caribert and the story quest and the questions that left us, as well that left us, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
we will talk about a little bit about Baiju and Kave. So when we
Let's
come
go.
back, right, we'll take a 5-minute break right now. So everybody, it is stream time is 104 at 30 seconds. We'll be back at 110. So we'll see you
Let's go.
soon. Right, Island?
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Hope you got your water and all this stuff that you need to chill with us for the next hour. My name is Josh, aka Jside, from the Genshin Guys podcast. Here today, hosting IslandXD. So, Island, how are you?
Hey, I'm here. I'm
All right,
alive.
you're still
I
alive.
see. I see no sun outside. I'm dying.
Oh yes, rainy days. You can never forgive them. So yeah, so let's continue our conversation by moving on to Care Bear. So Care Bear, let's move on to the Care Bear thoughts. So tell me like what the Care Bear Archon quest, like what impression it left on you. What are you thinking about from that quest? I know you made a video recently on your YouTube channel about who the voice is that was speaking to the traveler through the crystal. So tell us more about your thoughts on the whole quest.
The quest was annoying.
Agreed. But okay, well,
It
continue.
was good. It was good, but it was still annoying because, again, they do this thing where it gives you some answers but more questions.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, at least we did get like a more insight of how the abyss was formed on the basis of the forbidden knowledge. I would assume it's the forbidden knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like this power that precedes the abyssal power, which was based on.
Right.
And we don't know exactly who the voice is, but we can guess. Like many people have guessed, myself included. Um, I do think though it's sometimes you need to be very careful about how you interpret information because I think it happens on all the cases when we think we know something, we don't know anything
Right.
because
Right.
they always flip the table on us eventually.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good at that.
Yeah, and that's why it's so annoying because
Right.
like you think now you have some more information and you can base some thoughts on it, but then at the same time you're like, okay, when are they gonna like change things up again? We don't know.
We have no idea.
But yeah, but as far as the voice is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not 100% sure who or what it is
Right.
because we can speculate, and that's essentially what I did as well. But there are a lot of questions in regards to okay, there's many different possibilities, and they all seem to have some ground on why it could be, but at the same time, each individual instances, they're all related to this weird power that doesn't exist from this world,
Mm.
right? Like all the characters. Like I think one of the four or five biggest entities that this voice might belong to was, I assumed it was King Deshret.
Mm-hmm.
I also assumed at one point it was King Ermin.
Mm-hmm.
There's also this idea of Primordial One, the second who came.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, I saw a video. I forgot who it was, but they also ventured on the idea that it might be related to the Heart of Niberius, which is that artifact that Rheindoter found in the domain and then disappeared after.
Mm.
Um, and that was also interesting because that in itself is also connected to this unknown power that might predate the abyssal power, basically.
Right.
So it's very complicated. But the simplest answer, really, if we take a step away from like exactly who it could be, um, they're all just this unknown power, right? And we'll see exactly how they're gonna play this out. But there's so many possibilities and various hints for so many things that it's just complicated.
Mm. Yeah, I just think like more questions and answers get like leads us into this sort of conversation because we don't know. Like we just don't know. And
Yeah, and that's the best part because if it wasn't
uh
and we know the answer, I'm
uh
out of a job.
exactly. And I was gonna say this is where we um have these conversations which are really fun, I think, for me personally, like speculation, but based off of
Yeah,
what we do know, right? And
yeah.
they are so careful to reveal these things like little by little. Like
Oh,
just
so frustrating.
it
It
is
stalls
frustrating.
so much.
It's so the thing that frustrated me the most, and I guess I could say disappointed with this quest, was that they featured it as like a Kaya and Dainsleif quest,
Yeah, and then we got
and
clickbaited.
yeah, we literally got clickbaited. Like it was like so nothing really. We didn't really do anything in this quest. We just learned a lot. Like
Yes,
yeah, we
yes.
just we fell asleep, went through a past memory. The only thing that actually may have happened is, besides Kaya and Dainsleif talking at the beginning, was that we got seen by this other being,
Yeah.
by him, and Dainsleif's like, "Oh crap, I'm out," and he left, and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm out of here.
"I'm out of here. Deal with that yourself. I'm out." Like what? What? So yeah, like that's all that happened essentially. Of course, we learned a little bit about how the cure how there could possibly be a full cure for hilarialism. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? The
I
curse.
think it exists. I think it actually exists.
Yeah.
But in my mind, the answer is very simple.
Mm,
It's the cure. Okay, in a very basic sense,
mm,
one way or another, it's a curse.
mm,
Whether it's the curse of immortality for the Conrians or
mm-hmm,
whether it's a curse that changes humans into Hilichurls, it's a curse, right?
mm,
But then, if you think of it on a very easy sense, why does this curse happen to begin with?
mm.
And it's very simple, and it's you don't do what Celestia tells you to do,
Right.
right? And the whole idea behind Loom of Fate is taking control of your own fate, and basically going against what Celestia wants you to do,
Mm-hmm,
right? So that is itself the power that cures them, is my thought, which was very simple, right? It's
mm,
like, yeah, you might be cursed or you might transform because Celestia says you can't do certain things, but this dark power or this loom of faith is probably what essentially cures them of that. Like not cure, but fights back against it.
right.
And I thought that was fascinating, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that okay, so this whole like fighting against Celestia thing. Okay, I have a theory that I want to share with you from.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day, I last week I interviewed Owlet, right, another Twitch streamer, content
Oh, that's
creator.
who it was. I saw their video
Oh, you saw
about the
Owlet's
heart of
video.
Nibarius. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, so yes, so I interviewed Owlet, and then, but in Owlet's Discord, I joined their Discord after, and someone gave a theory. Let me let me do this. Da 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 da. Here. Okay. So this is from Insignia on Owlet's Discord. Okay, so if you want to talk to this person, head over there. Um, they said, well, my theory. I want to hear what you think about this. Okay, Island.
Okay.
My theory on the motives of the sustainer of heavenly principles kind of ties into how I think fate works in Tevat. Like, what if fate isn't so much no matter what choice you make, the outcome is the same, and more if you did make a different choice, then the outcome would have changed, but that was never going to happen. Because people make decisions based on their past experiences, and those decisions, no matter how much they feel uncertain, are absolute when viewed in the grand scheme of things. So, if a person's actions is influenced by knowledge of the future, then that person receiving that knowledge is also part of fate. So basically, no matter what happens in the world, like what happens in the world is always going to
TLDR,
happen.
it's just yeah. TLDR, it just means everything has a purpose and a meaning. That's kind of like in itself predetermined, but we can't tell, kind of thing.
Right, we can't tell if it's predetermined, but in the end it is predetermined.
Right.
Based off of okay, so based off that theory of like thinking that that's what fate is. If fate works this way, then with sufficient power and information, like through Irminsul or through hydromancy, an invested entity can predict these decisions and their outcomes. So, if a sufficiently powerful entity, like the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, gains access to enough information to predict the choices that everyone in Tevat would make throughout their lives, then they would probably believe that this is the fate of the world and the correct turn of events. But this entity's prediction, due to being based exclusively on knowledge accessible by Irminsul, aka entities of this world, their predictions don't account for outsiders like descenders. So
Mm-hmm.
to them, a descender, by nature, meddles with quote unquote fate, but in reality, their version of fate is flawed inherently. Like, fate isn't what happens, it's what they think is going to happen, and that's the correct path. The real fate of this
Okay.
world accounts for outsider influence.
I think that the first bit about fate is unknowingly predetermined.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very philosophical
Mm-hmm.
because I think even in real world they talk something about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Determinism and fatalism and all
yeah,
this stuff.
as far as like how it's interconnected with the
Mm-hmm.
people of outside of Tawat, yeah, I think that actually has a pretty good. I think that's a pretty good perspective.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting, right?
it's almost as if it's not a theory; it's more like a insight of how the world operates. Because a lot of different aspects of the game does mirror that concept quite a bit,
Right.
especially with the descenders and the people. Because the whole idea of the game is based on this world
Mm-hmm.
versus it changing from influences from the outside.
Right.
So I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it so I guess the theory part of this is um do you think that I mean I'm not asking you per se, but this is what I think the theory is. I think the theory is saying that the sustainer of heavenly principles is like is so powerful that they know using the things in this world, everything that's going to happen in this world, or they think they do. And so for whatever reason they want to keep that. And the they other people that come in after the sustainer affect that plan and mess it up,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
might be why they're trying so hard to protect it, which is why they're cursing all these people and blah 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 blah. So like it's really interesting to think like okay,
Mhm.
so because like why are descenders bad? I think that's kind of what we're going down to. Like why is it bad to be a
Yeah.
descender? Like what is so against the gods that you not being from this world makes you automatically a bad person? Right? You can't
Mhm.
positively influence the fate of this world. Like it has to be negative. It has to be not what you the ruler of this world currently wants. So I think that that's just an interesting point to bring up because the word fate is used so much, right? And
Mhm.
even especially in terms of like Mona, right? Like Kaya is fated to make a decision from his past it's going to catch up to him, like all this stuff. Like what does that mean, right? Like the fate of this world, what does that mean? Right? The skies of Tevat are fake. Well, like it just it's what are we
I
talking
think
about? Like the Loom of Fate? What is
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Like what are we talking about? So I think when we clarify what fate is in this world, I think a lot of things are going to start making more sense to us because we don't know.
I think if you look at Gnosticism,
Mm,
you might be able to get a very cool conclusion where, for those of you, I'm sure a lot of you are already aware that there's a lot of mirroring concepts from Gnosticism in this game.
mm.
Aside, along with other kind of, like, there's a bits
Other
of
philosophies.
religions, yeah,
Yeah.
religions and philosophies, but the entire idea, because Nahida specifically said, and I still can't be 100% sure if what she's saying is fact or not, because that's always a thing that's complicated inside Genshin Impact. But um, Nahida said the Heavenly Principle could have been the first Ascender.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I interpreted that as not the Sustainer, but the Heavenly Principle itself, the law and rule of this world is created, but it was not from this world to begin with,
Mm,
right? And it makes sense because let's say if we go back to Primordial One was originally not of this world either, from the book Before the Sun and Moon,
right.
and that we know that because they based the human realm on top of the light realm where the bishops were from, but then for some reason the Primordial One did nothing with the dark realm that probably also existed at the same time
Mm-hmm.
in this world, right? The whole point is though is that if let's say this is the heavenly principle is the law that is maybe potentially related to the primordial one that is not of this world, that means if you think about Gnosticism, the primordial one doesn't want external influences to change what's already set forth motion on in Tavat, right?
Mm,
And the only people who can do that is another descender.
right.
And that's probably why you would think the descenders are causing the quote unquote fate to be changed. And the original one, the original descender, the first one, doesn't want it changed.
Right.
Because in a very simple sense, this is their world because they were the first one here.
Right.
But yeah, I think it mirrors that concept quite a bit from Gnosticism with demiurge and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I just like love hearing because like a lot of the game is based on Gnosticism, but it's really obviously up to them to decide how far they want to take it.
Yeah, it's
So
very symbolic.
yeah, and
They
it's
take references and they change things.
yeah, and it's kind of like a really broad overarching theme, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily like
Mm-hmm.
letting us know where the story's going per se, especially with the whole
Yeah.
twin thing. The whole
Yeah.
sibling thing. Like what is even happening with that? Like we found out now that like okay, so the sibling traveled through Teyvat just like we did, like literally exactly like we did, meeting people and talking to people and going through these like little events. She didn't just like wake up, become the queen, and then like rule over everything. She just like she traveled and then she quote unquote found the truth of this world. And there's all this speculation about the twins being interchangeable and like all this stuff. I don't know. There's all this talk
It's
of
very complicated.
yeah, that part, the twinning thing is very complicated, I think. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. Obviously we all are, and hopefully we'll have more to talk about next time we get a Dainsleif quest.
Yeah,
um,
next year.
yeah, next year exactly. Oh, jeez, way too few and far
Yeah, we
between.
made a joke the other day. It was so funny because like people are obviously annoyed by the fact that it was Dane's Slave Quest, but he didn't really do much,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he just at the end got up and left.
Yeah, exactly.
We were just like, oh, he had to leave because he had to go record the Mussolini for Mika. He'll be back next year.
That's good. That's good.
That was hilarious. He's too busy. He's got
Yeah,
like contracts he
he's
has to
he's
take
he's
care
got
of.
he's got too much content creation scheduled. So, he's our next guest on this
It'll
podcast
take
next
about a
week,
year.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so yeah, so Carrie Bear Quest has so many things happening, there's a possible cure for this curse. There is the voice, the sinner. There is like the twin telepathy thing caused by, of course, ley lines, and there's Dainsleif, Kynria, and Kaya, and how those are related, which we got
Yeah.
cemented finally, which is great.
Here's the interesting thing about the ley lines that
Mm.
I thought about while I was staring at a wall for 24 hours. Because I don't
24
know if
hours
that's my life. I wake up, I'm staring at a wall, thinking about lore.
thinking about ley
Uh,
lines.
yeah. I don't know if this is accurate or not. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure people out there, like other theory enthusiasts, have better understanding of this, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought originally that the Irminsul was being controlled by Celestia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then in a weird different because I always think about one thing and then I try to like debunk my own thoughts
Mm-hmm.
because I like different perspectives of thoughts
Right,
in
right.
general. I was like thinking about this like where did who created why does the Irminsul even exist, right?
Right.
And I thought of a different perspective where it's like because of the whole thing that the primordial one's arrival, there was dark realm and light realm that predates the primordial one's arrival,
Mm-hmm.
and we learned that the bishop realm had 7 elements to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and then that tells me, and then there's like the dark realm too, and so like that tells me if I think about when the Irminsul was like when did it start existing, I almost felt like they existed before anyone got to this world. Like they're just the Irminsul are just part of this world from dating back to the light realm and the dark realm,
Mm-hmm.
and then after the inclusion of Primordial One and the Archons like way later, and then now if you think about it, Kanya seems to have some kind of control with the Irminsul as well.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Archons because Nahida is part of the Irminsul, right?
Right.
And then we also think about the idea that the Fatui is trying to also take control of the Irminsul, but they physically, apparently, it seems like they can't.
Right.
That's why they're trying. to manipulate like Scaramouche and then Nahida and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it feels to me that the Ermin Soul is just neutral, and everybody's just trying to take harness its power for something much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Hex and Zirkle are in a similar boat. It feels because their whole job is to learn to explore the Ermin Soul. So it's like everything is connected to Ermin Soul, and it feels like Ermin Soul itself is just neutral.
Um, speaking of Erminsul, Dainsleif's title, Bowkeeper.
Exactly, and he's part of Conria,
Mm-hmm.
and the King Ermin too. It's like everybody just seems to be trying to manipulate or take control of the Ermin Soul in like the back side of the story. And I always thought it was connected to Celestia only, but now I'm having second thoughts about it.
Well, I want to bring up a another quick theory. Last month I had Tevat Historia on this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about his video where he talks about Dainsleif's relation to Erminsul and how so Erminsul is changeable, right? Like we know from the story that Erminsul can be manipulated, and
Yeah.
that it doesn't change what has happened, but it changes the knowledge in the world and the understanding of the world
Mm-hmm.
to everybody that is directly affected by Irminsul, which is quote unquote entities of this world. Now, um, I don't know. Did you see his theory video? Did you happen to see it?
I see a lot of his videos. I don't know which one particularly it was.
This one is about Dainsleif being the keeper of a bow,
Yeah.
right?
I
Like,
remember him talking about it.
yeah. So if you can take information from Irminsul, can't you add information to Irminsul too? Like, can't you take a tree branch made of information and stick it on there, and then everyone goes, "Oh, yeah, that was always like that."
Yeah, I think the manipulation of the Ermin Soul is very possible in both ways.
Right?
Uh, yes, and then that's why I feel like everybody's trying to do that for
Mm-hmm.
their own personal, whatever they're all planning, like each faction or
Right.
whatever.
So the curious question is, what if Dainsleif is the bow keeper, which means he keeps a branch.
Mm-hmm.
What branch is he keeping? What information is he saving that was either always there or was added to Irminsul? Like he is protecting a specific branch, is what it sounds like. He's not the Irminsul keeper. He's not the tree keeper. He's the branch keeper. So is he protecting a branch? Is the Tevat Historius theory was kind of revolved around um like him protecting the branch of Irminsul that was added to Irminsul to make the sibling part of this world. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
can see where he's coming from. It's very tricky because it's all based on interpretation, as in bow means branch,
right,
and both of you are correct. However, bow also means the main branch. So
right. That's true.
it's like, does that like what's the interpretation here from like different languages? As in, are we talking about like a particular branch, or are we talking about the stalk? Is that like considered the main branch? We don't know because the language kind of iffy when they translate things.
Hmm.
Like the context behind things are very tricky. Um,
Right.
so
Well, then does that
in a
mean that the main
sense,
branch was changed? Right. Like that also makes
I
sense.
want. I don't know. Is he a keeper as in terms of the definition of he's holding something, or is he a keeper as in he's
Protecting.
observing and protecting?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So
what is
it.
his role? Is like the big question. And in this, everybody wants to manipulate Irminsul. Like, what is his role? Has he already manipulated it and he's protecting the manipulation, or is he protecting the tree from manipulation?
I think,
Right.
judging from his role so far in the game,
Mm-hmm.
it's he's more. It feels like he's just purely on his role. It feels like he's a protector of
Mm.
memories.
So why
So
does your sibling
like
hate him?
it might have just been like, hmm, that's a good question. I
Yeah.
don't know,
The
cause
the the I think the part of his theory that came was that the sibling didn't like what he was doing, which is why the sibling was betrayed by him and is his enemy. even though
Is that?
we know they traveled
eh,
together, right?
I wonder if that's because it's something that Daneslave did or something he represents in terms of his
Exactly.
affiliation.
Yeah. So but we know that the sibling is the prince or princess of the abyss, and that they did travel together for a long time. As of like, we even got to
Hmm.
experience it as the traveler, for a second. And what made them, if we think about the only information about what possibly could have made them split ways, was that your sibling learned the truth of the world. Dane Sleff is seemingly directly connected to the truth of the world due to his title. So what happened, right? Like, was was it whose fault was it? You know what I mean? Like, so, but your sibling seems pretty convinced that you're gonna come to the same conclusion as they did when you get to the truth of the world, and that
Mm.
you should also be on their side and against Dainsleif, is from the "We'll Be Reunited"
Right, right,
quest,
right.
right? So really makes you think,
Yep.
what does Dainsleif stand for, right?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated. I actually have no idea. I wish
Yeah,
I knew more.
I mean, we
But
don't,
there
we
is
just don't.
something very interesting.
Hmm.
This is just a food for thought
Uh huh.
for everybody. Um, don't you find it very funny? Let's say in the hypothetical perspective that Daneslave is the keeper of memories because of the title Bowkeeper, like protector almost kind of thing. Let's say if that was the case,
Hmm.
it it's very interesting because King Ermin is also named King Ermin, right?
Right.
But remember what they said in the Caribera quest that Kaya believed he read somewhere that Conria was
Under Sumeru.
under Sumeru?
Hmm.
But it's so funny because technically Erminsul is considered like the center of the world,
Hmm.
and Sumeru is technically affiliated with Nahida, who keeps the memories as well, who is technically a keeper of memories as well.
Hmm.
And it's just so funny to me that Sumeru is right where Conria is also located.
Hmm. That
It's
is
like
interesting.
it's like Sumeru is overworld version of the middle, and then Conria is the underworld version of the middle. Like
Right.
geographically, they're in the same location, and then there's the idea of the goddess of woods, or Nahida or Rukkhadevata, was the keeper of memories of the celestial faction
Hmm.
for the Irminsul. And then now we have Daneslave or potentially King Ermin of Conria, who essentially does the same thing in the same location.
Right, but from underground.
Yeah, which is very fascinating. I don't know where that's leading to, but that's just a funny
That
food
is
for
a good
thought.
one. That is something to keep in mind, I think, going forward for sure. Oh man. Okay, well, we could obviously go forever. Like I said, more questions than
Yeah.
answers. Um, so I want to get your quick thoughts on Baiju and Kave, and what you think of them or what you expect from them, like lore wise, almost.
Lore wise.
Hmm.
Ah.
Do you have any? Like, have you thought about because
I
Baiju
did.
is like, Baiju is here, right? Like, he's been here, and we know nothing about him, but we know that he is on a quest for eternal life. His body is very beaten up, and he's a dendro user who has a snake, which could possibly be similar to Fischl, who has a bird. Maybe Chang Sheng comes from his vision. We don't know. So
Uh-huh.
that's something that's really interesting to me, especially because hopefully we'll learn more about Chi Chi during his story as well. But what do you think?
To be completely honest, I did a lot. I tried
Mm-hmm.
to dig into Baiju quite a bit for almost like over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, depending on like what was being introduced into the story at those times over the course of like a year and a
You
half.
mean like he's the Dendro Archon theory?
Just everything. I went through
Uh-huh.
every different outlets possible.
Right.
And then even like the when Elazar was happening, like, is he related to the Elazar? Those kind of things.
Mm.
Um, and it's gotten to the point, in all honesty, he exhausts my brain so much that I don't want anything to do with Baiju.
Just gonna like let it come to you, right? Like, okay,
Yeah,
just I'll
seriously.
just watch it and see what happens.
Like I'm tired of speculating on it, not because I don't think he's a cool character, but like every time I speculated on it, it just left me with more questions, so it irritates me.
There's like just he's been around too long with no new information. I think that's what it
Exactly.
is. So what about Kave? So Kave is relatively new. Obviously has ties to Sumeru. for being a well-known architect. He has ties to Al Haytham, and he has ties to Dori, I believe, with
Hmm.
the Palace of Palaces. And so, what do you think about Kaveh? What are you expecting or hoping to see from Kaveh's story?
I want to see how he's related to Haruzan specifically
Mm.
because I don't know exactly what the lore was, but they are in like a similar field almost. Not by title, but like what they represent as like architecture or like ancient architecture.
Right, right.
And I do believe there was a voice line of Haruzan talking about Kaveh specifically and the other way as well. And I just thought it was very funny because Genshin Impact they do this thing where they tease things pre-patch, like patches before,
Mm-hmm.
and like the whole it could just be purely like coincidence, but it's like why did they randomly place Faruzan's hangout right before Kaveh's release?
Right, which I'm gonna
Like
play today. I haven't played it yet. Have you played it?
yeah, so
Wait, have you played
I
Farzan's Hangout?
no, I haven't played
Okay,
it,
okay.
and I just feel like maybe not directly from the story or the quests,
Mm-hmm.
but in the back end, they're linked in some way because of the architecture of the desert and what they both try to study in
Mm.
regards to that. As far as Kaveh as a character, he's a funny guy. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah, I'm really
I
excited for it.
I I'm actually just looking forward to more like the comedic side of what's gonna happen when he actually releases.
Right. No, I think a lot of people are excited for him, and I really hope that. I mean, Hoyo has already shown us that they know what they're doing with Kaveh. You know, they stick him in Al
Yeah.
Haytham's things. They put him in his freaking Al Haytham's like intro video thing where they're all talking around the table. I freaking love that video. Um, was it like Sino,
Yeah, yeah,
Tanari,
yeah.
and Kaveh and someone else? I forgot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was them around table talking. And I think they have a really they have a really clear vision of what they want to do with him. So I'm really curious to see like how that comes out, especially because he's a 4-star and not a 5-star. So
Mm.
we'll not be getting a quest right away. I really hope they just like drop a hangout with him day one, like on his release. That would be great. Obviously we'll find out from the hangout. I mean from the live stream. That is probably happening next week, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then we will see. Oh, I'm excited. So okay, yeah.
Yeah, let me
Also,
ask you a random question though.
yeah.
So Kaveh Ebaiju are releasing,
Mm,
and judging from the pattern of how Archon releases, I'm pretty sure Nahida is gonna get a rerun dispatch along with them.
probably.
And but then that begs the question, yo, what characters left for next patch?
I mean,
I thought it would. To honestly, next patch, I'm speculating there's not going to be any new character, and it's all just going to be reruns.
well, if they did standard banner characters as featured, I think that would be okay. Like,
I feel like it's going to be a filler patch. No, next patch.
look, man, I
Like
just gotta
not the
save up primo
upcoming
gems,
one.
okay? I need to like,
Yeah.
I have every character, so except Mika. So I'm trying to like,
Damn.
yeah, I'm trying to like not spend. So like if they all reruns, I'm here for it. Obviously, if they bring Eula back, I'll be happy for people who don't have Eula. And like Fangirl Kazu, I hope Tanari because I want his weapon. Child rerun, like all these people want some. There are reruns that are wanted, so I think
I
they
don't know if that child rerun was wanted with the kappa at the end.
Oh, well,
Mr.
but I'm sure there
Worldwide.
are people because like, when's the last time we had Child, right? Like it was like
No, stop.
a while ago.
He's had enough.
Well, yeah. So what they're gonna do? If they're are they gonna change it? Are we gonna have 3 banners? Is there gonna be a new character? Is there not? I mean, obviously, we didn't know there was no relation to the story so far up until this point for Baiju even being warranted or released right now. So,
Right.
I mean, who knows? They could literally just pull up like a new character randomly, or they could I don't know. They'll just give us Varka. Like I don't know. Like it,
Damn, we're
you,
going down that route. Give me
dude.
Vanessa.
Oh, dude, yes. Give us Vanessa, please. Um, yeah, I want. If we get Vanessa, dude, I want to see her about Celestia voice line.
And then it'll be like, what are you talking about?
What's that?
Nothing gets answered.
Oh my gosh. She's like, yeah, it's okay. Like Venti. Ah,
Dude, I
the
think
wine
it's more
sucks.
likely that we'll get Madam Ping before Vanessa.
Oh, dude, you know what? I'm okay with that. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 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 leeway characters that we need from that
Mm-hmm,
past
mm-hmm.
Lantern right. Oof. Okay. We need Guizhong and Street Rambler. Uh okay, so great. So that's our pretty much the majority of our Genshin talk right now. With the remaining like 15 minutes or so, I would like to talk a little bit about Honkai. So
Yay!
yeah, yeah, you sound excited.
Hey.
Yeah. So Honkai. Okay, you told me that you do a lot of like Hoyoverse lore stuff, right? So not just
Mm.
Genshin. Um, so what is your experience with Honkai? I know you said you started after Genshin, but how like you're caught up to the story now in Honkai? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and tomorrow I'll finish the latest chapter. Here's the thing about Honkai.
Yes.
Um, obviously, one of the biggest question people probably have is, are they connected to different games of Hoyoverse?
Well, I was gonna ask you that next.
Yeah, it's a common question. Um, but my approach to the entire thing about trying to understand Hoyoverse's lore is it's not if they're connected. It's more like their messages is the same and they're getting mirrored to each other.
Hmm.
For example, this is a little bit spoilers, so I won't go into details. But when Sumida was coming out or it was released, and then we're going through like the first few Archon quests for Sumeru,
Uh,
at the same moment in Honkai, there was an arc that was based literally around dreams and consciousness and some Zora at the same time.
ah.
Um, and this is not like a common. This is not like an uncommon thing. It happens every single patch. It's kind of like I made a joke, as in like, yo, at the headquarters of Hoyoverse, they have like the main story writers for all different games sitting at the same table with the whiteboard saying, "This patch we're gonna talk about this concept for
That's
each games,"
so
and then
funny.
yeah, it's it feels that way, and it's been doing that for the past like a year and a half.
Hmm.
Everything that's popping out in Genshin in terms of the conceptual ideas of Genshin has been mirroring in Honkai.
Oh.
Even though like the characters is different, the way plot is driven is different, but the concepts are the same.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Do you think that Honkai and let's just by extension say Honkai Star Rail and Genshin take place in the same universe, or are they just references to each other because they're made by the same company? Because that is very much a thing.
Yeah, that's also another question a lot of people have.
Yeah, what do you
Um,
think as someone who's played both games and even Honkai Star Rail?
right. Oof, this is a how do I explain this?
So, like, for context for those also, and just maybe to help you out in your thinking a little bit, like, movie directors will put in a poster of a movie from their other movie in a different movie, but it doesn't mean that
Right,
that
right,
movie
right.
and that director exists in that universe. It's just a reference of Easter egg of sorts, right? So,
This is what I believe Hoyoverse is doing.
hmm.
Ever since they changed their global marketing name from MiHoYo to Hoyoverse, there
Mm-hmm.
was a clear message that not a lot of
Oh,
people picked up on.
good point.
And that's exactly when that mirroring of patch started happening,
Hmm.
that we just talked about.
Right.
Uh, Genshin, I believe it's its own world and entity, but they purposely leave trails of other worlds and multiverses, even
Mm-hmm.
in Genshin. The idea of external things from beyond that world, right?
Right.
in Honkai, it's been the same. It's its own game and has its own story, but they purposely leave that possibility of multiverses for people to like consider.
Mm-hmm.
And so because that exists, it gets you questioning if they're linked in some way, both games. But so far, there's only been like maybe Easter eggs, but not direct callouts that they're directly linked. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's where I believe actually Star Rail fits into all this
Oh,
because in a very simple sense, imagine Genshin Impact on the left side of like this paper, like this outline, and then Honkai Impact there's on the right side. Honkai Star Rail sits in the middle, that tackles the idea of multiple worlds to almost like a perfect degree, where it's
right.
now linking everything together.
It's like literal. Like they
Yes.
could just like
Um,
take the train to Honkai World and then take the next train to Genshin World, right?
that's a possible speculation, yeah.
I mean, if
But
they
the
wanted to, right? Because that's
yeah,
that's
but
where it sits.
right, but the concept is there for that.
Mm.
Whether they'll do that, very unlikely to be honest,
Right, of
but
course.
the concept is very clear about that. And that's why it's kind of strange because in Star Rail, if for those of you don't know, um there's a character in it that is the same character, not NXP,
Mm-hmm.
from Honkai Impact Third. So that already in itself kind of shows you that at least for Honkai Impact Third and Star Rail, they're connected.
Right.
And then the possibility that Genshin might be connected also exists.
Can I
So
can I say who
uh,
I think it is? I mean, I think I know who it is, but
yeah, it's
it's
not like a surprise if you
right.
yeah.
It's Wealth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but then there's also the side. I think this is why they're purposely very careful about this because there are people in the community who doesn't want them to be interlinked.
Right.
So they purposely leave that outlet like as something that might exist, but they never confirm it to a certain degree.
Mm.
But all in all, it started as so important. I feel like in terms of the lore because even though things might not be connected, the concepts are the same, and it's almost like the Marvel universe is what they're doing.
Mm.
And this is my personal perspective, but I feel like Hoyoverse is based on the Marvel universe on how it was presented,
Interesting.
and there might be possibility that they're eventually all like merged together, but that's probably if it happens years and years later down the line.
Right. So how about this? There was an event where, I mean, you can get Fischl at any time now in Honkai, but you could get Kaching for a while during the
Yes.
event. So I didn't play during that time. How do they fit into the story, or were they just like they're just added characters with absolutely zero context?
It's they're actually really smart because on the outer perspective it has no context,
Right.
but Honkai Impact Third is a game that is notorious for breaking the fourth wall.
Right.
So in a weird way, even though it has no context, there's a possibility that still exists.
Interesting.
They do this on purpose, and it's like actually brilliant because you never know if it's going to if they're directly connected or not because it's always up for interpretation and open-endedness.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I kind of want to go watch that story.
And at
So
one point, even Paimon was inside Honkai Impact Third.
what the heck, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
but that feels like it's not supposed to be connected by canonical lore,
Right.
but they're breaking the fourth wall, and it makes you think. Like it's very suspicious.
Okay. Well, maybe one day we'll know, but maybe we won't.
Yeah.
I think that it's really interesting because um Honkai has, so I'm gonna start probably talking about Star Rail in a second, but now Hoyoverse, right? And then by extension, Zenless Zone Zero is also added into this
Yeah.
conversation. But I think that, so actually, if that's the case, let's say Hoyoverse is like, we have Honkai and we have Genshin. Genshin is like this exploration set in this certain kind of world, and then Honkai is
Hmm.
like this, you go from mission to mission, there are like open world maps, but it's mostly like story based, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not the same as Genshin. It's a different game, right? It's like combat focus,
Yeah.
and Genshin is like open world exploration focus. But they both have, of course, story that's really important, and they're both story driven in a way. But then we have Honkai Star Rail, which is yet another genre. So it is a turn-based tactical RPG, or not tactical. It's a turn-based RPG,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna have Zenless Zone Zero, which actually is kind of similar to Honkai. I think it's like the closest. It's different,
Yeah.
but it's like similar in gameplay. I guess like you go from mission to mission. But let's say that all of these stories at the same time. Let's say there really is a whiteboard where all the main writers are sitting, and
Yeah.
you know, there it could be said that they are just trying to share these messages and concepts, but in different genres, right? Oh yeah, there's Tears of Themis, the Otome game,
Yeah, and then there's Gun Girls too,
Gun
but that's
Girls,
like pretty
yeah.
old, yeah.
So which is still going, right? I think that's still they have stuff
In
for it.
China, yes.
Yeah, in China. Um. So yeah. So like maybe from what you said, they just have different games for appealing to different players of different genres, but
Mm-hmm.
to get them all into it. Like for Honkai, I know a lot of people are excited that have played Genshin, that want to try Honkai because the characters are really, the
Mm-hmm.
graphics are really good. It's similar to Genshin. There are a lot of similarities in character design. Obviously, Honkai players will see the exact characters. Um, we have Bronya, Himeko, Seal,
Mm-hmm.
Seal, and then Welt, and probably more to come in the future. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not that many characters in Honkai to begin with, I guess. But um, like when people, what I think is like, okay, and I'm gonna reference this because of your tweet that you tweeted like yesterday, the day before.
Uh-huh.
Like my biggest concern for Honkai Star Rail, you remember,
Right, right, right.
right? If you are you, so you said if you are a die-hard Honkai Impact Third fan, please let's respect others and chill on gatekeeping. If you are a
Fair enough.
die-hard Genshin fan, please let's respect others and relax on comparisons. And if you're new, welcome Trailblazer. So
Uh-huh.
I really like that because I think that a lot of people from the Genshin community are going to be going to this game, but they're not going to like it. Like I played the beta. You played the beta too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's totally different. If you're not good at strategy games, turn-based games, you don't like those kind of games,
Mm-hmm.
you might not like this game. Like this could be granted, this could be the game where it brings you from open world Genshin like games to strategy games, to turn-based RPGs,
Mm-hmm.
but it's totally different. And so maybe Hoyoverse is just trying to appeal to with different games to different genres, but like slightly connecting them together to keep people interested to jump game to game to try them out,
Mm-hmm.
right? As like a marketing strategy, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. Well, we think lore based, right? But maybe they think money based. So like,
It's
you know,
it's actually mm, it's actually very crucial that you bring this up because
mm,
yes, here's the biggest thing that a lot of people are criticizing for Hoyoverse.
mm,
Perhaps the most vocal criticism is that they're rehashing stories and characters
mm,
and that they don't have any ideas of how to make new characters or stories.
right,
It's actually inherently, I believe that that's not the case. And the only reason why I say this is because I know about the lore of all these games.
right,
If you really think about it, yes, they're reusing characters and plot points, but because I know all three games, what they're trying to do is convey the same message on purpose because that's the message of the Hoyoverse.
right,
As in, it's not about how the story is played, it's more like the bigger concepts of like one of the easy ones to understand is I say this all the time, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
mm-hmm,
And that's not just in terms of the game, but that's a life lesson. And
right,
it's funny because that's what they've been doing for all these games. They have like three big major conceptual ideas that they're trying to express in terms of Hoyoverse, and that's why they're using the same ideas and concepts in different games to target different demographics of certain gaming niche.
Mm,
I it's kind of like a little bit philosophical and complicated if you just want to be a gamer and you don't want to think about like real life things because it
right.
does make people uncomfortable sometimes.
But it's important.
Yeah, it is something that is being focused a lot. Like Honkai Impact Third, Genshin Impact, Star Rail, they all have the same conceptual ideas of the commom what's the word?
Camaraderie?
Like
What?
yeah, yes, that word.
Okay.
That it's about going through things together,
Oh,
like
yes,
making
yes.
meaningful relationships.
Hmm.
And that's the message of like every Hoyoverse games. And that's what they focus a lot on, actually. But again, if we're just a gamer, we just like to play games and think nothing of it in
Hmm.
terms of how it's related to the ideas in the real world, then I can see why people are complaining to a certain degree, like, oh, they're just using same characters and same storylines. But you know, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's necessarily too bad because yeah, every game is targeted to a specific audience,
Hmm.
and that's what they're doing on purpose, right?
Mm.
Because you could argue that Zenless is very similar to Honkai, and it is. However, Zenless does has its own niche of the way the game is operating is on a roguelike
Right.
gameplay
No,
basis.
it is a different genre. Like it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. But then story is presented in a similar way.
Mm.
And but then you could argue Star Rail and Genshin story also are presented in a very similar
So
way. They're just
similar.
different type of
Yeah.
games.
Even
Yeah.
even like the whole
It's like
archons thing and like the paths, like the different
yeah.
paths. It's like I was watching the live stream and they're explaining to everybody like what paths are, and I'm like, oh, like having a vision like a from like a elemental archon,
Yeah.
like this archon represents this concept and this concept is
Oh
related to this
yeah.
character and that's
They
why
use
they
the
got this
same
vision.
yeah, they use the same ideas like Gnosis is the equivalent of Hershey-Cores,
Right.
which is the equivalent of Stellarons in
Mm-hmm.
Star Rail.
Yep.
The ideas are all the same. They just use different terminologies, and that's why people are like, okay, they're running out of ideas. But in reality, they're not. They're just trying to
Yeah.
say the same message across their entire Hoyoverse.
Yeah, which is I think a really really good way to put it. And um there's you know I definitely choose to believe that over thinking that they're not creative, because they clearly have the resources.
They
um
have people that are very smart and a
yeah,
lot of money.
they're
So
smart. Yeah. So yeah, that's great. So we're coming close to the end of our time here, but I wanted to ask you, so from playing the beta, there was the live stream. What I mean, like, so how was the beta for you? Like, in like as kind of as quick as you can say it, but like, how was the beta for you, and why should we be excited for Honkai Star Rail?
in the perspective of lore, Honkai Star Rail is the centerpiece that connects everything in the Hoyoverse.
Mm,
So if you're interested in Hoyoverse lore, we're going beyond Genshin lore. We're going beyond Honkai Impact Third lore. If we're going Hoyoverse lore and you want to understand the big concepts of Hoyoverse, then Star Rail is very necessary. You don't need to play it, but like you don't need to play it to understand the full concepts of other games. Is what
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to say. Uh, but if you're down to learn about like the overall message being told, then it's a very good middle piece that sets the foundation for a lot of things.
So, you said like Welt is like from Honkai, right?
Yeah.
So is this canonically after what happens, like timeline wise, after what happens in Honkai? Is that how it works?
Yeah, in a very simple sense, yes.
Right. So like the Welt
We still
who's
don't know the
there
exact
experienced
timeline, but
everything already in.
yeah.
Yeah. But you don't have to play Honkai Third to play and enjoy Honkai Star Rail, correct?
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
You'll get more references and understand a couple more things here and there, but generally it's a new story, new universe with a new concept, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I mean,
It's just a new
how was
journey.
how was the beta for you? Like the gameplay, like in general, like how was it? What did you enjoy about
It
it?
was fun. It was fun, but I purposely didn't play through all of it
Same,
because
because you
I
have to
felt
play
like I
through it
was gonna
again.
burn out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you have a time
So
limit, and you have to play through it again, and yeah, spoilers
yeah, and
also.
what I was really focused on beta was just trying to make it a better game, like
Right,
feedbacks and stuff.
same, same. Oh,
But I hope people enjoy it. I feel like I'm a fucking like advertising endorser for Star Rail right now, but like the reason why I'm talking like this is because this game, honestly, like I told you in the beginning, I'm like more of a Hoyoverse
right, right,
lore
right.
crackhead than a Genshin lore,
Mm-hmm,
even though I do Genshin focus a lot more, obviously.
mm-hmm.
But I really do think Star Rail lore is very important. Not for Genshin particularly, but for the whole overall picture.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to be a really huge entry point for a lot of people into the JRPG-esque genre. Um,
Yeah.
and it's got a really flexible battle system. It's obviously the graphics are great. It's flexible. You can play it on your computer, on your phone, eventually on PlayStation, and
It was
yeah,
fun. The game's fun.
it's super.
I
I
but I
enjoyed
mean,
it.
I'm kind of biased. I play JRPG turn-based games a lot.
Yeah, same, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but like, it's awesome that they're connected and they kind of go hand in hand in some way or another. So, yeah, we'll see. And my last question to you, since you played the other one, have you ever have you, do you think they will ever bring any Honkai character into Genshin?
No.
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 So, because they brought Aloy, right? And
Oh, wait. We're talking about exact the same one rather than an XP.
wait, what?
Because the Archons are Honkai characters. They're just XPs.
Right. No, I mean like the exact like you know how
Okay, yeah.
Fischl and Kaching are in there. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think that'll ever happen.
mm,
And that's just because they're too strong.
yeah, I guess so. They're kind of OP, huh?
The Hersters are, in my opinion, actually stronger than Archons. That's like kind of like the power level
I
here.
mean, yes. Like if anybody looks up any kind of gameplay of any Hersher in any way, like they'll see how they Genshin characters don't even stand a chance against half these people.
Yeah, and even just the story itself,
Yeah,
like you can kind of tell they're like
they have to
just
be
too powerful.
like universe level power, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, Raiden May though, and Yaizakura. I mean, Yaizakura's not a Hersher, but you know, like I just
Yeah.
love the characters.
Considering they're doing XPs from the beginning, I
Hmm.
feel like that's what they're gonna continue to do rather than like a straight up copy and paste.
Makes sense. Okay, well, thanks for joining us today. I
Yay!
had fun. What about you?
Good. It was a good morning conversation, and I'm kind of awake now, so I can go work.
Woohoo! Great. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Everybody, thanks for joining our conversation today. Now, Island, where can they find you? Like, where? What are your socials? Like, where are you?
Oh, is this our plugging time?
This is it.
I stream on YouTube during the weekdays. I make videos on YouTube, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
IslandXD. I stream on Twitch on the weekends. I basically stream on two platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I always have a Twitter, Island_XD on Twitter. I have a Discord. You can find that through my YouTube channel. And if you're interested in Genshin lore, every Thursday on YouTube we do a Genshin Theory Thursdays where we talk about lore exactly like this on stream
Perfect.
every Thursday. Yep.
All right, I will join.
Sweet, yeah. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. A lot of the stuff we talked about today, we also talked about it 2 days ago. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you were prepared, basically.
Yeah, unintentionally, yes.
Right. All right. Well, thank you, Island, for joining us, and
Thank you for having me.
thank you everybody for watching. This VOD will be up here on Twitch for the next 7 days or so, and then we will upload it to our YouTube channel after this. So everybody, if you missed any part of it today, feel free to check out the VOD later. And we'll catch you all at the next One More Cup for Coffee Genshin podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, so everyone have a great day and
Thank you,
see ya.
everybody.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.